Welcome back to the Aftermatch with Kirsten Beeve. Come for the rugby. Stay for Eroni Clark singing the national anthem at Bledisloe 1 at Eden Park, Beeve. That is a moment that'll never be forgotten. How good was Eroni singing?
Well, I had no idea it was unfolding, and we hadn't been tipped off about it. And I saw
So no one knew?
Well, we certainly didn't, and we've been told that Caleb obviously didn't. And I said to Millsy, I said, that looks like Eroni Clark down there. And he's like, yeah, I think it might be. And sure enough, the name came up on the big screen, and it was Eroni. And, geez, impressive. Very impressive.
Like an incredibly powerful voice. But it's one thing like singing at church on the weekend, Beeve, and it's a completely different thing singing the national anthem in front of 48,000 people at Eden Park, plus your son standing there. It's for a team that you played for. Like, it's a whole thing.
Oh, it is completely different to whatever sing-alongs you usually attend. And I couldn't help but think he's obviously very singing fit, because when I needed to take the odd breath during the national anthem, he'd already jumped to his next line. So he's obviously very singing fit, hugely prepared for the event, I'd have suggested.
Yeah, it's something you don't think about, isn't it? Being singing fit, but I guess you do have to be when you think about your breath. Amazing that you guys didn't know. I just thought everyone knew on the broadcast team anyway, except Caleb, and somehow they managed to keep it from him. But you've seen the video now, right? When Caleb literally looks over because he's like, hey, I know that voice. And he looks over and then just bursts into tears.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's great that Caleb and Eroni have a special relationship, and I guess Caleb knows that his dad can sing, because I could only imagine if I was standing there and all of a sudden your father gets rolled out to sing a national anthem, I for one would be in all sorts, and it'd probably completely throw me off my performance. But thankfully for Caleb, I think it did nothing but inspire him, and he played outstanding while he was on the field.
Well, I was just going to say, have we found our two starting wingers, Beeve?
Well, I think they certainly aren't going to get dropped from the next one. I thought they were a good combination. And I think it's just good to see busy wingers who are in form. But it's a funny thing, obviously Leroy Carter has absolutely made every post a winner. And then you think back to, who's previously been in those wing jerseys. And then you had Imone Naroa, who had a fantastic 5 minutes against the Box, and then he was cruelly sort of injured too. So it's not been completely performance-based, that it's been a little bit musical chairs. A lot of it's been injured. I mean, Sevu's taken a couple of head knocks and had a serious injury there at one stage. So it's you sort of feel for those boys who are all fighting for that wing berth, because I think a lot of it's got nothing to do with actual performance, never alone it's just staying on the pitch.
If you look at performance, though, and you look at Leroy Carter, we've obviously been going on about him since podcast 1 of the year, our very first podcast after his first game of Super Rugby, and there was just something special about this guy. What he did in his performance over the weekend, Beeve, not just like on attack, but on defence as well. He's a different type of winger. Is this because of this? He played so long on the 7 circuit, and they have like every type of skill set in the game when they're playing sevens, because you have to.
Yeah. I don't know if I completely agree with that entirely. I think there's some skill sets that get neglected on the 7 circuit, and defence is one of them. But yet he has been outstanding defensively. And you talked about what he did on Saturday night in particular. There was a couple of times where he saw what was unfolding, knew he was numbers down, and he took it upon himself to fly out and shut down the attack. And I don't know if the wingers have got that license under the All Blacks defensive setup, or he's just got a rugby brain on him and decided, this has to get shut down or else we're in trouble. And he's gone out, and there was a space of about 10 minutes there, all around halfway. He's clobbered a few people. And Leroy Carter is not a massive man when it comes to what's running around international rugby, and yet he was winning those contacts. So now Leroy Carter, he goes from strength to strength. Caleb was obviously brought in because he's this big, explosive winger, first and foremost, but also the aerial game, and it was by far our best performance of the year as far as aerial game goes, and just the pressure. And there's obviously been some tweaks where they have managed to manipulate the defensive setups that Geordie goes back there. And that's, a lot of people sort of just off the cuff have always said, oh, well, Geordie should go back there. And yes, you can make that work. But then also what that does is it just makes your defensive setups need to be a little bit more fine-tuned, because all of a sudden, what does that mean for your front line? Then you've probably got a Leroy Carter defending in around 10. He's defending with, obviously a normal 10, so be it Damien or Bowden, and then you've got Proctor. So, and it's all around combination. So, yep, Geordie's doing great back there, but obviously the work still needs to be done as a unit in the front line in case teams have a crack at them there.
While we're talking about individuals, Beef, our Black Magic All Black of the week, make sure you cast your votes for your All Black of the weekend, and we'll get a prize pack out to you if you manage to win. Very sought after these days, Beef, because of the time of year at the moment. We're not too far away from Christmas, summer holidays, of course. But your All Black Magic All Black of the weekend, who was it?
Well, I'll just ignore the fact that you chucked in another fishing pun with casting your vote. Absolutely sensational there from you, Kerr, someone who claims not to be a fisho. But yes, the Black Magic All Black of the weekend. It could have been none other for me, the returning superstar in the number 9 jersey, Cam Roigard. He's my Black Magic tackle All Black of the week. But make sure you put your votes in below. And as you said, get yourself a nice little prize pack from our great mates at Black Magic.
How did he come back after so long away and not miss a beat and play even better than we remember, which is hard to believe?
Yeah, well, obviously, it was a foot injury, so there wouldn't have been a whole lot of running or kicking for a long part of that time that he was off, but he would have been able to do all his, passing work and, his conditioning to a point, but no, it was a fantastic performance. It was a performance that, I guess, solidifies him. If there was any doubt out there, he is our number 1 halfback, and by some stretch. He's awfully complete now, Kirst. There's no deficiencies. If there's a deficiency or something he probably needs to, or he will want to be better at, it's the continued evolution of his kicking game and from those sort of static rucks. But by and large, his overall game was nothing short of superb, and the thing that I think he adds most to the All Blacks that they need right now is the rugby IQ and what he offers there. Obviously with rugby so structured these days, people go about their work, they know where they've got to be on the field, they know their job, but I think Cam Roigard has long taken upon himself that he's not just going to leave the managing of a game to the first 5, whose job it traditionally is, and he takes an ownership around that, Kirsten, and that I think which probably sets him apart from our other halfbacks, but also helps his game in the bigger scheme of things.
I was going to ask you, Beef, do you think there's any world in which the All Blacks start playing through 9 like France do rather than 10? Is there any way that you would see that happening?
Well, again, it depends on what you've got around. I don't think you need to so-called base your attack off 9 with what we've got. I mean, we've got some of the most damaging, threatening 10s you could ever dream of, and we're bringing obviously another one back in 12 months. So there wouldn't be that monster shift to say, right, everything's off 9 and we play from there. However, there are times in games, Kirst, where if you get momentum, if you get a line break, then as far as I'm concerned, it is all bets are off, and you do play off Cam Roigard. Because why? Because you're just not letting the opposition set defensively, so then he can pop out from those rucks and come at whatever is that defence line, be it fragmented or not. So there's certainly a time where it's all bets off, and call it Campbell, whatever you want, but you just got to get on the back of it, and that for me would be from line breaks, from momentum rucks, which we are creating, and the thought of him popping out and having the Artie Savias, the Wallace Atidis lurking, or the workaholic wingers that we've got at the moment, be it the 2 that played in the weekend, or your Sevus, or your Narawas, who are all great at hunting around an explosive 9, which Cam is. And Cam, he's threatening because he's got the ball in 2 hands. There's a couple of line breaks early against the Wallabies there. not a whole lot going on, but he pops out, he goes down short sides, he's carrying the ball in 2 hands, and people hang off. And because you've got to remember, Kirst, when he's attacking, by and large, he's having a pop at probably props or locks. And respectfully, they're there to hold that sort of channel and hit big men coming at them. The last thing they want is to be not secure, not have people around them, and be dealing with a halfback with the scheming and physical ability that Cam Roigard has. So it's almost the perfect storm once he does get momentum.
Okay, I love an early call, Beef. I love an early call and I love a big call. For the last couple of World Cup cycles, Antoine DuPont's been talked about as the best 9 in the world. One of the best players in the world, not just 9s, I should say. When does Cam Roigard join that conversation?
Oh, look, that conversation, we'll be accused of being biased and patriotic here, but by the time that World Cup comes around, he will be at the same dining table as DuPont. And quite frankly, I don't think he's far off now. Like, you've got to remember, this is literally his first year as the undisputed 9 of the All Blacks, and it's still been wrecked a bit by injury. Obviously, last year was supposed to be, but it got wiped out. He got a bit on the end of year tour, but still only a little touch of it at the end, really, as far as starting goes. Let's hope he stays injury-free. He gets through the next game, and then he goes on that end of year tour. There's no doubt the trajectories he's on and the little international starting rugby he's had, when he gets more and more time under that banked, of course he's going to be DuPont level. I don't see any other thing happening.
That's what I wanted to hear. I just wanted to make sure that you were still loyal to New Zealand's 9s, Beef. But of course you are. You've always thought that Antoine DuPont's overrated.
I've never said that.
Not on the podcast.
I've never said that.
They're at the same dining table. It's fine, Beef.
They're at the same dining table.
Now, your takeaways from that match at Eden Park. Obviously, it was a good win for the All Blacks. They've put the Bledisloe back in the trophy cabinet for another year, which is huge success. Big tick there. And one step closer to regaining the rugby championship as well. You always thought only one team would get to 4 wins. Well, it's down to the All Blacks or South Africa, basically, to get a win on the weekend. So what did the All Blacks do well for you at Eden Park? What were the other boxes that they ticked?
Well, again, I thought they generally attacked well. They got the ball into those wide channels again pretty comfortably. And I know there was a little bit of criticism and fallout from the game that what are we doing post that? Because they were making big dents, and at times we weren't possibly capitalising on that. But I think by and large the attack was good. I think there was no doubt that we went after the 12-13 channel from a defensive point of view. Both Ikitau and Suaalii had their moments from a performance point of view. I thought Ikitau was almost best on field. But there was no doubt that they were passive in the wide channels. And this is something we've seen all year from them. I know there's been a bit made of it, but this shouldn't shock you, because the Lions exposed that South Africa at times where you can get to an edge against the Wallabies, and maybe it's Suaalii's rugby league background or what have you, but there is a lot of treading water, Kirst, and by that I mean not committing to go and getting just the one player or bringing any sort of shutting line speed down there. He's sort of waiting to let the attack make their decisions, and fortunately for the All Blacks, while he's doing that, we're eating up space and getting momentum and getting across the advantage line. So I thought we did really well there, Kirst. I thought some of the individuals off the bench really, really helped, I guess, the performance. I'm thinking Peter Lakai, Big Paddy, certainly played well when they came on. I thought Quinn Tapia, who got thrown in the deep end. Because of what happened earlier with Bodie, I don't think Razor and the crew would have ever foresaw Quinn Tapia ending up on the wing. And not just on the wing, but he was going to be marking someone like a Tool, who is absolutely rapid. So Quinn did great, because Quinn literally got amongst the middle of the field and carried strong and did what he does best, even as a midfielder, but in the winger's position. So I thought he added it. I thought Damien McKenzie, I thought one of his very, very good performances of late, as far as in the All Black jersey. I don't think you can underestimate the importance of those kicks that he put over at that time too. to extend the lead outside that 7, gave the All Blacks the freedom to then chase the odd try and play with a bit more confidence than they were perhaps going to be. So his goal kicking was nice. And the other thing I enjoyed about him is he kept going after that wide channel. Would have been easy to put the cue in the rack and play a bit safer, but I think we've realised that doesn't really work for this All Black group. So with 20 minutes to go, line out, 20 out, I think they had a real crack and tried to get Will Jordan going in that channel we've talked about, which was a bit vulnerable for the All Blacks. So that was good to see. But by and large, I thought we carried well, and we might have missed a couple of opportunities on the edges again, Curse, which is what we had been creating. But I think if you looked back at it, what's been some of the big Achilles heels of the All Blacks this season? High ball stuff. Well, as I've mentioned, I thought we were great in the air. Some individuals really stood up. I don't think you can lose sight from the fact that high balls aren't what they used to be, folks. It's not just a matter of catching a high ball anymore. It's got a whole lot tougher for the team actually defending the high ball, considering some of those rules that we've sort of talked about previously, no escorting, the big caterpillars being built. So that was positive. The bench, as I said, that impact was positive. And I guess to repel what the Wallabies are throwing, there was a turnover that Artie did when Pollard, on the back of some wonderful Wallabies play, Pollard went screaming up the middle of the field, and you felt that this was going to be on for all money. And then Artie Savia not only gets back, makes the try-saving tackle 15 out from his own goal line, but then pops up like Christmas morning at the Stanway house and gets the turnover. It was nothing short of phenomenal. And that to me was about... Well, with 10 to go. It was with 10 to go, Kirst, and Wallabies were coming back with absolutely everything. So, yeah, I think those were the big notable things. There'd be some things that the All Blacks would be concerned about. No doubt the line-out drive defence was an area the Wallabies really went to, Kirst.
And the breakdown.
Yeah, well, the breakdown was intriguing. You know, like I don't know if this would have solved anything. I wondered whether Duplessis Karifi needed to be a part of it just because of the way that the Wallabies played. And, you know, and they went the other way and didn't have him even in the squad. So they've obviously seen something, much wiser men than themselves, Curse. But the other thing that was really noticeable when you talk breakdown is once the Wallabies got on a roll, it was just like a progression of almost rugby league where they were just bashing with their big forwards. Salakai Loto was obviously brought in to replace Skelton, but I think he was also brought in to bring more than just another lock. I think he was brought in to be a bit of a physical enforcer, because we've seen the Wallabies this year when they haven't had someone who's prepared to get physical and get in the face of a few, they've succumbed a few times. So I think he was there for that, and I think he did his job. Harry Wilson, Curse, to see him live, he is just like the old Energizer bunny that you wind up and let go. He just does not stop. The old 80 minutes, and he's one of these guys who just, there's not a whole lot of deception about his carries. He is just run hard, and if you're going to stop me, you're going to have to want to get in front of me, because he just runs with that sort of intent and purpose. And you talk about the ruck, so therefore, all of a sudden, their ruck speed and cleanness of their ruck for their halfbacks is so quick and so clean that they all just get on the back of it. And that's when they were able to get so much go forward comfortably against us. And then we saw tries where the Aussies then pulled it out the back of. They'd squeezed us right up, and then they scored tries on the edges, which we saw a couple of times. So there'd be a little bit for them to take away and think, hey, we might have some opportunities here.
Yeah, you said the All Blacks missed some opportunities. The Wallabies definitely missed some opportunities as well. They'll be a lot better in Perth, won't they? Plus, they've got Valentini and Skelton to come back.
Yeah, and I can't think, Liner couldn't be too far away. He obviously made the trip over, so I don't know how far he would be away. And so all of a sudden, it does have a different feel, a different look to it. But again, there's some great positives for the Wallabies. They're not going to go away. I thought Iki Tau, as I said, long been a fan of the Wallabies midfielder. He is so industrious. I just felt we didn't see as much. You know, I said to Millsy pre-game, I said, I hope the All Blacks win, but geez, I'd love to see a performance from Suaalii live.
Everyone wanted to see it, just not for the result to go the
not
other
for
way.
Wallabies victory, but just enough for us to be impressed.
Yeah.
And the thing about him is, I think, because obviously he wants the ball, he wants to be a part of it. He kept coming on that line, which we've seen Rico do a lot, which is that line outside the forward pods coming off 9 and just taking a carry. And I just wonder if that's not him. Like, I mean, he can do it and he can do it strongly and he gets you go forward, but I just think it's a waste, So for me, the best way to use him would be either you get a decent platform off your set piece and you go to him early and get him with the ball in the wide channels, like we saw the All Blacks doing against the Wallabies. So you get it out there early and let him have a one-on-one, or the ability. We've seen his handling. His handling's so good, Kirst. He can be a decision maker out there. Or the other option is, I think you get some big carry over the advantage line and not waste him or burn him on the clean, or that next sort of almost sacrificial carry, but just get a quick ruck on that first phase and then get the ball early to him again, and with the ability to go on the outside, because I just felt he was just used as a bit of an extra loose forward battering ram at times against the All Blacks in the weekend. And for the Wallabies to be good, he is something special. He is their X factor. So you just wonder if they could use him a little bit differently, because physically, Kirst, when you're built like that, if you've got a little bit of room, you're tough to handle.
Now, you told us a wonderful story last week about being part of the music committee before a Bledisloe Cup match, which, by the way, there were other former All Blacks commenting on, saying just how hard that job is. Does the music committee, does the social committee continue from Western Australia this weekend? One of your favourite places to tour, and you think of Scarborough and Cotslow. What happens when you go overseas with the All Blacks?
Yeah, look, the music committee is a thankless job. The one up
you
from
did
that
get
is,
a thank you though.
Oh, I've got yeah. I mean, late at night, does it mean anything? I'd like that reaffirmed in the morning.
Even more.
But also, the step up from music committee is of course entertainment committee. And look, I don't know what the entertainment committee looks like these days. Of course, the easy one would be right. I think they landed on a Sunday. You'd have to clear it with Razor, but maybe straight to Collarslow Beach for a wee Sunday. But no, the entertainment committee, they'll come up with something. But one of the absolute horror shows that I had on the entertainment committee was, I think it was on my tour of hell. So for those who don't understand my logic there, or my naming, it was the Hong Kong tour. So a couple of weeks after that, I think I got appointed sole responsibility of sorting out our Thursday night entertainment for our little chip and dip and a couple of drinks after a hard week's training. And I thought, Dublin, well, every Irishman's funny. You can jump in a cab and they can crack good jokes at you. So why not get a Irish comedian in Dublin? So I went out. I had budget for this, so I was allowed to go and employ someone for the evening for a half-hour set. I found Ireland's least funny person, and not just comedian, a professional
Where'd you
comedian.
find them?
I think I got on the internet and may have used our liaison officer to help with A, negotiations, and B, tracking him down. But I literally found Ireland's unfunniest person and put him up there as the comedian for half an hour. He was so bad that, like sometimes you used to get a magician come in or a comedian that was semi-bad, and the boys would start heckling you early through it. They weren't even heckling, Kirst. They were just turning around and just shaking their head and just frowning and just essentially wanting it to end. And this guy didn't read the room at all, and he just kept going and going. And I'm thinking, look, I've had a tough tour. I need to make a few big plays here, both on field and off field, to try and give myself a chance of a future as an All Black. And this guy just wasn't helping me because he was forever known as Beaver's comedian, and he was dreadful. So it's a high pressure job. You do take some risks, Kirst, in the entertainment committee, and that was one that certainly didn't pay off for me. I thought it was a pretty safe bet, but unfortunately, no.
Who's there? Is it just the players, or are the coaches being entertained by this terrible comedian too?
They're there too. Yeah, the guys that decide your future are also having to be put through this half an hour of hell. So yeah, look, I certainly didn't give him a good review for his website. But yes, such is life, Kirsten, and such is the predicament of being on these committees where you've got to, keep 30 odd very critical humans happy.
Okay, well, that is the aftermatch with Kirsten and Beef. Part 1, Beef. Thanks for sharing that story. Maybe you should have just jumped up there with the mic yourself. You're quite funny at times. You would have been better than him anyway. That is part 1 of the aftermatch.
I wasn't feeling humour on that tour, Kirsten.
We'll be back very, very shortly with part 2, and we'll look at the other match in the Rugby Championship and round 6, how this tournament's actually going to finish. Who's going to win this trophy at the end of the day? We'll be back soon.